Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Good night to James, songwriter. Good night, Rosemary. Good night, Darrett Elliott. Good night, Joe Blogs. Good night, Hurricane Matty. Good night, Darrett Elliott. Jeffrey Warrell. Good night, good night, good night. Good night, Artinel Muir. Doug Lish. Good night. Nice having you tonight. Good night, Dareth McCoy. Good night, Jeff Clive. Nice to have you. Good night, Patel Cruikshank. All right. Good night, Uncle B. I am Miss B. Good night. Nice to have you. Good night, of course, to OT. And I know Rattigan is watching. So let me just welcome everyone tonight. Today we have a fun pack show for you tonight. So tell somebody that Come Reason with Rattigan is on. I'm gonna tell you tonight. I'm just gonna set the tone as to the structure, and then that's just our guide. Of course, the show, as I said, is yours. I'm not so well politically averse, so I wouldn't say like Rattigan. Any question you ask, well, any question you ask, if you're not able to answer, Rattigan will be on next week, so we'll make a note of them, and we will ask him to deal with those questions tonight. So while you're sending out the reminders, tonight I want to talk to you about herbal remedies for common ailments. And of course, we will have our phone line open at some point to take questions. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the ailments. We're going to look at some herbs also. Some you are going to know, some you're going to be very familiar with, some you're not going to be familiar with. But we want to share with you as much herbs tonight. And I want to not only talk about the herbs, I want to talk about not only the traditional use of these herbs, but I also want to talk about how to use them. A lot of time we talk about the herbs, we don't talk about the recipes and the instructions. I'll be going into that tonight. So please, and also this is your show, as Ratty would say. So whatever questions you have, please feel free to ask your questions. This week I saw a gentleman, one of his watching. He's all the way. He came with a friend to our offices in Portland, and he said he knew that our office was in Portland, but he didn't know that the person who he was following was coming to see me. So of course it was a pleasure meeting him. And it's nice to meet persons that are on the show, and to all those persons who are in England, in Canada. Rattigan, Come Reason with Rattigan has a very good following in Canada, has a very good following in England. As a matter of fact, I don't want to preempt, but I'm in early discussions about visiting England. And I'm in early discussions about visiting England to meet some of you guys over there, and to share with you. And I'd love to see what are some of the herbs that we have there. And from there, who knows? I want to go to Africa this year. I'm also looking about going over there in Africa. I don't remember which country it is, but I want to bridge that gap, and look at not only the herbs that we have in the Caribbean, but herbs that we have in these parts of the world that have a high population of our people. Because as I said, my goal, my passion is to really look out for people of our ethnicity. It's not to say that I don't care about anybody else. Of course I do. But I realize that we are marginalized, and everybody else is looking after everybody else. And so our people, whether in Africa, whether in the Caribbean, or wherever they are marginalized, and we have lost so much. So my goal is to help to see something being a system that is available for our people. So tonight I'm going to talk about that. For those of you who are also regular on our channel, I want to apologize. for this for Sunday gone. We didn't get a chance to do our herb walk, but hopefully this Sunday we will be back. We're doing a series on spirit medicine, and I've actually talked to a guest that I hope to be on this Sunday, who will talk more about spirit medicine. He practices spirit medicine. He's on the um, Maroon community. Now lives in England, but I've met him and I have tremendous respect for him. So he's going to be talking to us about the use of some herbs. There's one particular herb that the Maroons are very apprehensive to talk about. There's one called One Blow, but I want to look at the use of herbs, um, because herbs, as whether you know it or not, the knowledge of herbs has played an integral part, even in as it relates to the freedom the battles. Nani of the Maroon did not. A part of her strategy was not only to use warfare strategy, but a part of her warfare strategy was the fact that she conveyed to her enemy that she was not an ordinary person, that she wasn't an ordinary woman. She conveyed to them that she was a woman, a spiritual woman, and part of her conveying that was her knowledge of herbs, how she used herbs, and so spirit medicine has contributed significantly to our deliverance as a people. And spirit medicine, was considered to be obia, or got classified as obia. So it was so serious. Spirit medicine, or the use of medicine, herbs, spiritually, was so serious that a law was passed called the obia law, and that law was passed to outlaw slaves and to outlaw persons from practicing um, using herbs. So I'm not a spirit medicine practitioner, but I'm very interested and fascinated about the role that it has played. And of course, I'm doing a four-part series where I'm looking at spirit medicine, talking about spirit medicine. And of course, spirit medicine isn't only negative. If you are, good night, reggae girl, if you are a Christian, or if you're a Muslim, or whatever spiritual background that you are from, um, then spirit medicine is also featured in your faith. For example, in the scripture, we see where spirit medicine, where medicines are used for spiritual uses. So frankincense and myrrh is considered to be spirit medicine. So spirit medicine isn't only evil. And so there's a lot of benefits that are linked to the use of herbs, not only for natural uses but also for spiritual uses. There are a number of psalms that you can use in addition to using herbs. So in the last part of the series, I want to talk about that. I want to share with you the benefits of that. All right, but tonight, as I said, I want to talk to you about what I call herbal remedies for common ailments. Herbal remedies for common ailments. We're looking at a number of common ailments. I want to also say, use this platform, while persons, I'm encouraging you to send the link out to someone, send the link out to someone, tell them that we're going to be talking about um, uh, herbal remedies for a number of ailments. We'll be looking at diabetes, we're going to be looking at high blood pressure, we're going to be looking at stress and anxiety, we're going to be looking at skin ailments, we're going to be looking at a number of ailments. So, have your questions ready for that. Now, as I said, that there are a number of missions that we're embarking on to get the message out there. We want to get the message out there. We want to promote what I call Indigenous Caribbean medicine, and that is a medicine that is uniquely, distinctively Caribbean. The Caribbean has some of the most powerful herbs in the world, and we use those herbs in a very different way than how the rest of the world uses herbs. Our use of herb is heavily influenced by a multiplicity of cultures. And so the colonizers, the French, the Spanish, the British, their influence has impacted, or it has affected our use of certain herbs. Then there are the Africans. Their influence has impacted or affected how we use certain herbs. Then there are the natives, the Tainos, the Maroons. And so when you think about it, the use of the herbs from the Caribbean is uniquely, distinctively different. Plus, in the Caribbean, the diseases that we are exposed to, being in the tropical and subtropical regions of the world, are very different from other parts of the world. And so it behoves us to have a system that is geared and factored around that. And so I wanna talk about that tonight. So Miss Curiosity Kid says, I spray double D40 on my joints to help with pain. You know about that? An old sage told me I could. And yeah, I've heard about persons using double D40, but because double D40 is not natural and that wasn't the intended use of it, I cannot endorse it. I know, persons are saying that double D40 is used for greasing or oiling, are lubricating machineries that have become seized up. And so persons would say that once your knee is having problems and you're hearing sounds, people equate the same understanding of mechanical or metal seizing up with your bone. And I would first of all want to say that it's very different. There possibly are chemicals in double D40 that might be harmful. So I would say to you, I could not endorse that. And I would say be very careful. And besides, there are plants that work very well. I'm going to talk about those plants. Miss Curia, somebody said, what about um, Rattigan? So I want to apologize for Rattigan, first of all, for not being here tonight. He will be on next week. He will share with you why he is absent, but I can tell you that he's getting some well-deserved rest, right? So he's getting some well-deserved rest. And anything else he will share with you next week. But please have him in your prayers and know that he's preparing for a greater comeback. So, he needs some rest and he needs to recuperate. So that's part of what he is doing. And I've spoken to him and he's very well. All right. So tonight, as I said, I want to talk about herbal remedies for common ailments. And before I go into it, I also want to remind persons about the petition. No, not that OT, the petition. The Magnitsky Petition. We want to remind persons that, we want to thank those that are signing and those who have signed already, but there is still a lot of space, still a lot of signatures that can be added to it. So if you have not done so, please do so. And while you're doing it, please remember that whatever contributions or donations that you can make will be well appreciated. So tonight, if you haven't signed it, then please go ahead and sign it. And remember that in addition to signing it, you can share it with other persons. All right? You can share it with other persons. As OT says, don't donate to the petition. Oh, don't donate to the petition. I believe that the site that is facilitating the petition take donation, but we have a different way in which donations can be made. And I'll show so donate at ojldf.net. So if you want to make donations, please go to ldf.net and make your donation. But please go on over to the site and not only sign but share the link for others to sign. All right, so let's get into tonight show. So tonight I want to start out by talking about digestive ailments. And there are many digestive factors that can cause digestive ailments, and I want to maybe limit it to maybe some of the most common digestive ailments, which is bloating, indigestion, acid reflux, and constipation. Those are maybe the most common digestive ailments. And I want to start out by saying that we're asking persons always consult your healthcare provider before starting any herbal treatments. The information that I'm about to share with you tonight is not a replacement for the advice of your personal healthcare provider. What we're sharing with you is educational information that is there to inform you, but it is not to replace the advice of your healthcare provider. I always say to the person that anything that can help you can kill you. And so, what I'm giving is general information. And a lot of you that are listening may have underlining factors, or you may have, in addition to the ailments that we're going to be talking about, other conditions. So please consult your healthcare provider before utilizing anything that we're going to be sharing tonight. All right, so we're going to be talking about these limited, because we have so much we want to talk about. I want to talk about bloating, indigestion, acid reflux, and constipation. You know, tonight, even tonight, just before coming on the show, I have a very good family member who had issues with constipation, and it was so severe that at one time the family member told me that if I were to go to the hospital and they were to say to me, I need to cut off your finger, or if I cut off your finger, the abdominal discomfort that you're feeling will stop. She would have easily given permission for that to be done. All right. So it's very important to me, and for the most of this week, I have spoken to maybe 5 or 6 persons who had come to me about abdominal discomforts caused from constipation. So let me start with constipation first. For the family member, one thing that I suggested is colonic irrigation, or one of the things that has been traditionally used for constipation is colonic irrigation. And this family member, I spoke to her yesterday because the person went to work and had to leave work. The person said that she went to work, left work because of the discomfort, went to the ER, and they gave her morphine because of the amount of pain that they were having. That is how chronic the pain was. She was sharing with me how she even wanted to vomit. And so I would say to persons that life and death starts in the gut. If you're having constipation issue, it is not something that you should take lightly. And a lot of times, but the underlying cause is not eating enough fiber or not drinking enough water. There are a lot of persons who drink juice or who eat, and especially for those of you who live in cold climates where you don't have a natural desire to want to drink water. You have to be careful. In addition to not drinking water, you may be eating foods that don't have water, because remember, our body is about 75% water, and so our diet, the food that we eat, is supposed to be 75% or more water. That's the first thing. So the food that we were originally designed to eat is supposed to contain like 75% water. And so we're talking about fruits, we're talking about vegetable, we're talking about nuts and grains. So we're talking about how we were designed. That's the food that we were designed. So with a diet that has foods that has 75% water, it wouldn't be easy for us to be dehydrated. And a matter of fact, it is said that we need 8 glasses of water daily. That recommendation is based on the fact that we don't eat enough food with water in it. If we eat foods that contains water, we don't need to drink that much water, right? The second thing I want to say is that most times, if you wait until you are thirsty to drink water, it means that your body is in a state of chronic dehydration. All right? chronic dehydration. Now, what happens, and as I say that, some people don't know that there's a right way to drink water and there's a wrong way to drink water. All right? There's a right way to drink water and there's a wrong way to drink water. So, I'm going to use the analogy of, imagine you are going to water, you plant sweet pepper, and you're going to water your sweet pepper, but you wait until it's about 12 noon. Now, at 12 noon, when the sun is at its peak and the soil is hot, what is going to happen is that as you pour the water at the root of that plant, the hot soil is going to take away the water almost immediately. So the plant is going to get very little water because the soil is very hot. And that is what happens when you drink water when you're very thirsty. So if you wait until you are very thirsty, if you wait until you are very thirsty to drink water, what you're going to notice happen to you is that almost immediately after drinking the water, you want to pee. I'm going to answer your Karen. Greetings, Catherine. So, when you drink water when you're very thirsty, what happens is that YouTube. Let's go to YouTube. So what happens when you drink water when you're very thirsty is that almost immediately you're gonna pee it out. So the right way to drink water is to sip your water. Because as you sip your water, what happens is that your body is gradually utilizing it, that the water that's available. So Karen says, is it true that baking soda and castor oil good for cleanse the body? Baking soda and castor oil. Yes, it's good, but how you use it is important. So it's not. So the answer is yes. They are good for detoxifying the body. Baking soda is good for alkalizing the body, and castor oil is good for detoxifying the body. But it is how you use it. Using it together, no, but using it separately. So, for example, baking soda, a teaspoon in an 8-ounce glass of water is very good, especially if you're having indigestion. It helps to neutralize the acid and helps to calm the stomach. And we know castor oil is a laxative among the many other benefits that it has. So yes, both of those are very good. So for constipation, one of the first thing that you want to do is you want to ensure that you're drinking enough water and that you are eating enough fiber. Now, what happens if you become constipated? And by the way, when you become constipated, it creates the base for you to develop other conditions. So some of the other conditions that you can develop when you become constipated, because from the member that I was talking about, when you become constipated, one of the things that can happen is that if you become constipated to the point where you become very uncomfortable, there's a chance that it can damage the lining of the intestine and it can lead to leaky gut. All right, it can lead to leaky gut, which is a very uncomfortable condition. It can lead to also diverticulosis, which is an uncomfortable and painful condition that you don't want. It can lead to hemorrhoids, you having hemorrhoids. And for men, from experience, it can lead to the prostate becoming enlarged. Because when you go to the toilet and you strain, you're not only putting pressure on the lower intestine, you're also putting pressure on your colon. A lot of men who have enlarged prostate, one of the reasons why they have it is because they are constipated and they force themselves a lot. So we're talking about some of the natural causes of constipation. Another cause of constipation outside of medication, because that's another factor. Some medications that persons are on may actually cause constipation. Some supplements may also cause constipation. So, for example, supplements like iron. Some iron supplements can cause constipation. Um, but there is a very commonly overlooked cause of constipation that I want to talk about. And it is something that a lot of persons um, overlook. And guess what that is, guys? The height of your toilet bowl. Yeah, man. The height of your toilet bowl can be one of the reasons why you are constipated. Because as human beings, our natural anatomical position for passing stool is stooping. Miss Curiosity Kid said iron constipated her. Yeah, man. Iron has the ability to constipate, especially certain types of iron supplements. So, one of the causes, or one of the overlooked causes of constipation, big up ICU, is the height of your toilet bowl. A lot of people, because when you're toilet, but because what happens is that when you stoop, what happens is that your back forms an arch. Your stomach is pressed against your legs. So just by having your stomach being pressed against your legs being pressed against your stomach, it helps to allow the stool to easily come out. And I wish in my office, I don't have one now, but in my office, I had a chart. I had a chart that I would show to clients what does a healthy stool look like. Now, if it is that your toilet, one of the ways to know, yes, Golden Wen says, so true, that's why some cultures in other countries have very low toilet. Yeah. So, one of the ways to know if your toilet is too tall, listen to this now. One of the ways to know if your toilet is too tall is when you wipe. Some people say, boy, why that gone all of them? why that gone all of them something tonight? But I have to go into it because all of us are human beings. And these are the things that I have to go into when I sit with clients. You can imagine I have to sit with clients and explain to them how to properly use the toilet. We could have a session in just proper toilet use. Because we have become so modern and we have become so advanced that we have left the natural position of using the toilet. And we have adopted the European, or I should say, the unnatural ways of using the toilet, and we are proud of it. Good night, Paulette MacArthur. So one of the ways to know that you are not that your toilet bowl is too tall is when you wipe. Because here's what happened. The anus is designed, when you squat, the anus is designed to just cut off the stool. To just cut off the stool. And what happens is that when you're in a toilet bowl, that part of the anus that is supposed to cut off the stool is not exposed enough to cut the stool off. So you have to use more toilet paper and you have to wipe multiple times. So even before we talk about what herbs you need, what herbs you should use, we want to first of all deal with what you're doing wrong. All right? And as Queen Breezy said, that what we should actually be doing is washing ourselves rather than wiping ourselves. Do you know the amount of women that get infection because of wiping themselves? Do you know the amount of women that get infection because of not properly wiping themselves? All right? So, one of the problems why a lot of people are constipated and a lot of people have high abdomen. So some of those persons who have a high abdomen are what we would call a big belly. One of the reasons for that is that they don't empty their colon properly. And one of the reasons why they don't empty their colon properly is because the toilet bowl is too tall. So one go around that is by if you have a toilet bowl, well, what we should seek to do is to try to eliminate the toilet bowl that we have to sit on. And try to get the toilet bowls that we stoop over. Right? We should try to eliminate the toilet bowls that we sit on, and we should try to replace them with the toilet bowls that we stoop over. But if you have the toilet bowl that you sit on and you don't want to remove it, then what you should try to get is a bench that you can lift your legs on so that you are seated on the toilet bowl in a crouched or in a bent position. And I remember I've shared this with persons who didn't know this and they were blown away because they came back to me and said, well, Doc, I can't believe that I've seen so much improvement in my bowel movement and in my overall health just by sitting, just by taking what you said about the toilet, adjusting how I use the toilet. And I don't know if you have ever been in a position where you have been constipated, and I want to talk to me now and stop with this tush thing. Where I remember when we used to go to country and go to grandma, those toilets, those outside toilets. When you are hardbound, as we call it, not constipated, because we know the word hardbound. And when you sit on the toilet and nothing now come, what you would do is stand up on the toilet seat and you would have an easy flow. So we know from experience, for those of you, that if you are constipated and you find somewhere where you can crouch and do your business, you have a better bowel movement. A lot of persons who have hemorrhoids, if you're having hemorrhoids, one of the things that you need to do, especially you, if you're having hemorrhoids, before we talk about herbs and what you need to take, one of the most important things that you need to do, especially if you have hemorrhoids, is to ensure that you pass your stool in a crouching position. Because what happens is that when you sit on a toilet bowl and pass your stool, when you push, you are using muscles in your lower abdomen. You are not pushing, you are straining muscles in your lower colon. You are hurting yourself. So can you imagine? A lot of persons are sick. A lot of persons have hemorrhoids. A lot of persons have poor bowel movement just because they want a fancy toilet bowl in their house. And so what I'm saying is like the emperor new clothes. So, and I would love if somebody on the show would just, if you're having hemorrhoids, or if you're having constipation issues, just do what I'm sharing, and come back next week and tell us if you have had. And if you find it difficult to say, I can personally say, you can say that I have a friend or a family member. We will take that too. All right. But if you're having constipation, that's one of the first thing you want to look at. Now, in terms of herbal remedies, there are some herbal remedies that can help with constipation. Um, when you have issues, one of the first thing you need is a group of herbs, is a herbal action that we call laxative. Somebody says, does Cascara Sagrada affect the kidney? Not really. Cascara Sagrada is a laxative. No, Cascara Sagrada is a laxative, and by the way, it's a mild laxative. And there are different types of laxatives, by the way. So there are some laxatives that are strong laxatives, and there are some laxatives that are mild laxatives. Now, what causes the herb to have its laxative properties are certain chemicals. I'm not going to know big words, but there are certain chemicals or certain plant chemicals that are responsible for the laxative action that certain herbs have. And some herbs have more of that chemical than some. And some herbs that have more of that chemical may tend to have what is called an abrasive effect on the body. You don't want that. You don't want to take any laxative, and how you know is that when you take it, it has a griping effect. And sometimes when it has a griping effect, when you go to the toilet, you may pass out pieces of the wall of the colon that looks white, and it looks like it look like a mucus, and you say, boy, me tell us the bushy help me, because when we go to toilet, you see the amount of colon we pass out. Sometimes it's not cold. Sometimes it's parts of the walls of the intestine. Sometimes you will find that it is followed by blood in the stool. So if you're passing your stool, and it also comes with what looks like blood and a white mucus-looking substance. It is not mucus sometimes. It is walls of the stomach. And what that is saying, what your body is telling you, is that that laxative is too abrasive. It's too strong. Right? And so what you want is a mild laxative. So let's talk about some mild laxative. So I didn't know I was gonna go into all that, so I don't have any example. But one example is the Cascara Sagrada. It's a mild laxative. Right? Another example is Senapods, another mild laxative. It's another mild laxative. Another mild laxative. I should talk about some abrasive laxative. Some abrasive laxative are like the castor oil. So the castor oil can be abrasive. Queenie says, and Dr. Ben, how about MG glycine, because some laxative dries out the colon? I don't know about MG glycine. I don't know what's the active ingredients in it. So castor oil is a laxative, but if you use too much, it can be abrasive. We talk about pavana or croton. It is a laxative, but if you use too much, it can be abrasive. All right? So these are some laxatives that can be abrasive. Now, when you're using a laxative, especially if you go to a herbalist who is versed and trained, usually a laxative, and by the way, the goal is not just to take one herb. If you're having constipation, the goal is not to take a herb that will, one single herb to resolve the issue. Usually what you need is what we call a herbal compound. A herbal compound is a formulation of herbs that work synergistically together. So aloe vera, by the way, aloe vera can be abrasive. Aloe vera can be abrasive. So if you don't use a lot, it's mild, but if you use a lot, it can be abrasive, meaning that if you take too much aloe vera, it can also cause you to see blood in your stool. Right? So usually the herbalist would be versed in making the formula in such a way where there are other ingredients that would minimize the laxative effect or complement the laxative effect. Right? So herbs, so a herb like peppermint is a good herb to add to a formulation like that. That would help to minimize the abrasive effects. All right. And then there are other herbs that you can add. I don't want to get too complex, too complicated, but Cascara sagrada is one of the herbs that you can use if you're having constipation. Senapad is one of the herbs that you can add if you're having constipation. Ginger is also not a laxative, but it's also another herb that you can add to your formulation because it helps with reducing that griping effect and it helps with peristalsis movement in the colon. Herbs like fennel is another very good herb to add to formulation if you're having constipation issues. Now, there's also the use of certain oils, so mineral oil, because some persons have constipation because they don't drink enough water, so there's not enough moisture in their stool, and you will find that once they go to the toilet and pass their stool, it looks dry. A lot of persons also, when they pass their stool, they don't turn around to look at it. You should study your stool because I said to persons, your body talks to you. One thing that we have not been, one thing that we have lost. Let me say this. Do you know you have people who literally scorn their own body? There are persons who literally scorn their own body that are afraid to look at their own stool, that are afraid to examine their stool, that are afraid to examine their urine. And you know when this becomes a problem? When you get sick. Because when you get sick and you go before the doctor, and the doctor now says, because let me tell you something, one thing I learned earlier on when I was studying natural medicine is, and listen to this, it was a World Health Organization study that said medical doctors are incorrect in their diagnosis 60% of the time. I was shocked out of my boots when I read that. Medical doctors are incorrect in their diagnosis. In other words, medical doctor misdiagnose persons up to 60% of the time. And I want to balance that because I don't want to put the responsibility squarely at the medical doctor's feet. Because medical doctors are guided by sometimes what we tell them or what you tell them. So the medical doctor, your doctor, your healthcare provider may ask. So let me not just say medical doctors, but that's what the World Health Organization says. But I'm gonna extend that now to your healthcare provider. Your healthcare provider says, oh, so you're constipated. What does your stool look like? Me no know. Now, the medical doctor is there to guide you, to help you as it relates to your body. But you don't know nothing. If you don't know nothing about your body, how the doctor know? So what happens is that we give the healthcare provider vague and incomplete answers. So the medical doctor comes to vague and incomplete conclusions. Your healthcare provider comes to vague and incomplete conclusions because you give them vague and incomplete answers because you don't pay attention to your body. You don't listen to your body. You don't know what your body is saying to you. So I said to persons, and I'm glad I have this platform tonight. So I'm going to talk up the things then. Because a lot of time when persons come to me, I don't have the time to go into all of this with every person who comes. But guess what? every person who comes need to hear what I'm saying to them, what I'm saying tonight. You need to know your body. A lot of the women. So, what's the color of the blood during your menstrual cycle? Me not know. Most people don't know what a healthy urine looks like, what a healthy stool look like, what a healthy menstruation look like. Now, if you don't know what the standard looks like, how are you going to know when you're deviating from the norm, when you're deviating from what is normal? Sometimes the doctors are not listening. If the doctor is not listening, find somebody else who is listening. When you go to a healthcare provider, you're paying them to share with you their informed opinion. So they need to get information from you. And some of the time, a lot of doctors are cultured into not listening to clients because most time the client don't go to them with anything to say or they don't have anything to say. So the doctors are trained to come to conclusions on their own. So they have become accustomed to not hearing. So when they find a few patients who come before them who are, it's strange when when the patient is asking them questions and when the patient is telling them and sometimes even adamantly saying that no, this is what is normal for me. This is my normal blood pressure, doc, or this is my normal routine, or this is what happens to me when I take that. Some persons, some doctors are not accustomed to persons adamantly stating certain points because of how they know their body. So, constipation is one of the issues that if you're having it, herbs like Cascara Sagrada, herbs like uh, Cenopads, so two easy herbs are very good. Herbs like Megawatt Volt. Once told me he didn't have any time to listen to all my complaints. Yeah, if a doctor tells you that you need to change your doctor. If a medical doctor tells you that, then you need to change. You just politely say to them, I'm sorry, doc, but I think I need to visit somebody else who has the time to listen to me. Some Planeta says using the pumpkin leaf for vegetables or soup can help with constipation. Yes, and dark green leafy vegetables. So callaloo is a very good herb, and most dark green leafy vegetables are very good for constipation. All right, so let's move on. Then we have acid reflux. Acid reflux. Now, we see a lot of persons with acid reflux. Let me just show you a plan. Oti, give me the Matico. Bring up the Matico for me. Matico. Now, this is a herb that if you're having stomach acidity, this is one of the best herbs out there. No, not that one. Yes, thank you. This is Matico. It's also called Cordon Silo Negro. And this is one of the best herbs that helps with stomach acidity. It comes from a group of plants called the Piper family. It's called Piper Piper Andicum. So rat's ears, cowfoot leaf, um, black pepper, pepper elder. All of those plants come from this same family that this herb comes from. And those stamens that you see, those white-looking objects, they're actually the male part of the plant. They produce some seeds that are actually spices, and they're very good for the gastrointestinal tract, very good for acidity. It's very good when you combine, traditionally it's very good Traditionally, they combine this herb with another herb called slippery elm. Um, it's called West Indian elm. Sorry. See if you can put up West Indian elm for me. Very good. Now, most people know this herb as basida, the bark of this plant. If you get the bark and strip it, strip the bark, and you take out the inside portion. When you strip it, it's white, but as it's exposed to air, it turns red. When it dries, it turns dark red. You can take the inner portion of that plant bark along with the plant that we just showed you, and it works extremely well for stomach acidity. So basically what you can do is that you can make a tea from it. You can make a tea from it. Traditionally what we would do is we would get the matico leaf, we would dry it, and then what I do, because we have to establish a dosage, is that we would powder it. Then after we powder it, we would use about 1 tablespoon of that to 1 tablespoon of the bark of this herb. And we have had persons who have had stomach issues that can't heal. Can't heal. And this is a herb that does that. Now, if it is that this herb, the formulation of this herb don't help. Yeah, so for ulcers, traditionally this is one of the herbs that is used. If this don't help, which I don't know why it wouldn't help, but let us say it didn't help. And a very good herb is the root of the guinea grass. I didn't bring that because I'm just flowing tonight. So the guinea grass, what you can do is you can dig it up, and then you can get rid of all the dirt of the root. Wash it, and then you can grind it out, chop it up, make it into a tea, guinea grass, and that is extremely potent for a host of stomach ailments. So these two herbs, the West Indian elm, and by the way, this is a mucilaginous plant. So the seeds that you're looking on, they are sweet, and when you taste it, because they are edible, birds eat them, so they are edible. When you taste it, it is slimy and sweet. So this fruit actually is a fruit that gives energy. That's why birds eat it, because birds have to use their wings at thousands of flaps per minute in order to fly. So birds use a lot of energy to fly. And so because birds use a lot of energy to fly, what are the fruits? Well, that's why they eat fruit, because they feed on mostly plants that have sugars, because they need energy to fly. So this particular fruit is also very good for the stomach, and it's very good for persons who feel weak and for persons who feel emaciated. You can take these seeds and you can throw hot water on them, and it causes the water to become sweet. So when you drink it, it actually helps to give you energy. This is the basida bark and the basida seed. Very, very good as it relates to helping you with energy. So these are two plants that are very good for acid reflux, stomach acidity. Somebody had asked about baking soda. Baking soda is also very good. The baking soda is also very good for stomach acidity. It helps to neutralize the acid in the stomach. And as I said to persons, if you're having stomach acidity, one of the things that you need to do is to cut back on the amount of complex protein that you eat, or chicken. Because a lot of times, people who have stomach acidity, part of the problem is that their stomach is not producing enough acid to digest protein. And so what happens is that because their stomach is not producing enough acid to digest the protein, let us say, for example, you went, you had a quarter chicken, and I should say, I'm based in Portland, and but I'm originally from Montego Bay. So it was very ironic because when my wife and I came to Portland, most of the persons who we saw in Portland and St. Thomas, most of them had um, stomach issues. They had stomach acidity and they had edema or swelling in their legs. I mean, my wife, coming from Montego Bay, because we worked all over Jamaica. We worked in when I was living in Montego Bay, we had a clinic in Savlamar, we had a clinic in Santa Cruz, we had a clinic in Negril, we had a clinic in Montego Bay. I've pretty much worked all over the island. So I've been able to, I've been given an insight into the majority of ailments in each parish. And so when I came to St. Thomas and Portland, it was ironic that so many persons had stomach issues. My wife and I were saying, why so much people up here have stomach issues? I mean, everybody who we see have stomach acidity issues and they have swollen leg. And it is not that them work obia, we give them big foot. And obia give them big foot. Guess what we found? Guess what we found that was at the root of the problem in Portland and St. Thomas? You would know. You would imagine. Most of the persons who had stomach issues, stomach acidity, and swelling in their legs, guess what was the cause? Somebody put something on the chat, man. Let me see. Jeffrey, what you think, or Ilian, what you think would have contributed to St. Thomas and Portland people having so much stomach acidity as well as swelling in their legs? I bet you never know. Bet you never guess what you think was causing the problem. Megavolt. Altitude. No, it wasn't altitude. Hill. No, it wasn't the hill. Megavolt. Come on and talk to me, the Megavolt. What do you think was responsible for most of the persons in St. Thomas and Portland having stomach acidity? Can the max and bad roads? All right, I hear somebody say it. Not sure. Guess what? Jerk chicken. Yes. Miss B said too much salt in the food. Jerk chicken. Because unlike Montego Bay, unlike most places in Jamaica, almost everywhere you go in Portland, there's jerk chicken. So when you think about the amount of salt, Planet has said not enough liquid. Candy Max with too much pepper. So when you think about the amount of chicken, remember when you go and buy chicken, you're getting a whole quarter chicken. You're getting a whole quarter of a chicken to eat with 3 festival. Courtney Walker said poor diet. Yes. So Portlanders and persons in St. Thomas consume a lot of jerk chicken. And what happens is that, and we saw a lot of people with gout too, a lot of people with kidney issues, kidney stones, kidney cysts. These were the issues that we see. These are the issues that we see a lot in Portland. So one of the issues one of the medicines that we dispense most is our kidney tonic. A lot of persons have kidney issues. I mean, if we make 100 bottles, sometimes 50 bottles is servicing people in back orders. It's like almost never enough. As soon as we get it, it's finished. And so, so some of those persons who come to us who recommend kidney tonic, and you're always asking, so why you never have it yet? It's because it's one of the most seen condition that we have. Kidney issues. Kidney stones, kidney cysts. Because a lot of the times, the stomach is not producing enough pepsin. That's one of the enzymes that digest protein. And so because the stomach is not producing enough, when you eat that amount, that significant amount of chicken, the body only digests a very small portion, and the rest of it is left for fermentation. So the rest of it that is not digested in the stomach now has to be broken down through fermentation. And that fermentation process produces a lot of acid that is now in the body. So a lot of persons have a very acidic body. And so we find that kidney stones, kidney cysts, high uric acid, which can cause gout, which is a type of arthritis. We have persons with stomach acidity. That is what accounts for it. So I said to the person that if you're having stomach acidity, one thing that you want to do is you want to reduce your complex protein. Notice I don't say protein, but your complex protein. So you can still continue to eat your legumes and your nuts, which is simple protein, but you want to get rid of your complex protein. Don James says too much of that smoked food not good. Some food like chicken must be cooked. Yes, Don. So that is very much so. So we talk about constipation. We talk about acid reflux, and there are some other conditions that we like GERD. We also see a lot of Crohn's disease, right? Crohn's disease. I'm not going to get into that, but those are some of the stomach ailments that we see. I'm keeping it simple. Acid reflux, constipation, indigestion, bloating. So what happens now is that when you have a situation in which you're continuously eating, you have stomach acidity, and you're continuously eating, then you have indigestion because the food is not being digested. You are adding more food to what is not yet. All right. Sorry about that. We're having some issues with the internet. So a lot of persons need to understand that late eating, you're not digesting, and even though you're not digesting, you are still eating. So indigestion, bloating, because what happens now is that there is an imbalance in the gut biome. So there's positive bacteria and harmful bacteria in the gut. But what happens sometimes is that when there is too much harmful bacteria, then what happens is that the bad bacteria causes the buildup of gas, buildup of bloating. So ginger is a very good plant for that. So if you were to get, like, for example, 1 inch of fresh ginger root to about 2 cups of water, you boil it for 10 minutes, strain. You can add onion or lemon based on your preference, but that helps significantly in getting rid of the bloating and it gets rid of the indigestion, right? And you want to drink that before your meal to stimulate digestion, all right? Peppermint is also another helpful herb in relieving gas and certain stomach spasms. You can make a tea, again, make an infusion, 1 teaspoon of the dried leaf to 1 cup boiling water. You don't want to boil it, but you want to add the boiling water to it. Let it steep, cover it up, let it steep for about 10 minutes, strain it, and you can drink it, and that helps. Another herb that helps, that most of us knew about, is cerasee. All right. So cerasee is very good for cleansing the stomach. It helps with constipation as well. It's very bitter, as most of you know. So you want to use in moderation. So you want to use about 3 or 4 leaves, or if you grind it to powder, 1 teaspoon to 1 cup boiling water, and that helps significantly with constipation or with bloating. All right. So that is as it relates to digestive ailments. You can imagine. We've gone 1 hour and 6 minutes, and I've only talked about one of the 6 conditions that I want to talk about tonight. Only one. All right, so let me move on to another condition that I want to talk about, and that, of course, is stress. And a lot of people don't consider stress to be important or significant, but stress is maybe the number one contributing factor to the health conditions that we see. And all of us know that we are now heading into a time that is going to be more stressful. With the global changes that are taking place, a lot of people are coming under more stress. And nearly everything is linked to is linked to that. So stress also, as OT says, is can contribute to GERD or ulcer. It can also contribute to constipation. So apart from talking about the plants, I want to talk about some habits that we have that really can help to alleviate stress. Now, one of the things I tell a person is writing things down. Did you know that a lot of the times people are stressed because of the amount of things that they have on their mind? Sometimes just writing down what's on your mind helps significantly in dealing with stress. Writing down. I know for me, who I should remember to call, who I should remember to send this for, who I should remember. A lot of my stress comes from just trying to remember who I need to get back to. And so one thing I try to do is I try to write down numbers. One of the things I've done also is I've given OT some numbers. I've given OT 2 numbers. Because what stressed me is sometimes remembering who I need to get back to. A lot of persons reach out to me, and sometimes I will respond and say I'm going to reach out, and I literally don't remember, or another call or another issue comes up that pushes that person back in the queue, and I sometimes forget. So one thing that I've done is I have designated 2 persons. So there's 2 numbers. And what I want to tell persons now is, if you call me or if you ask me to do something, please ensure that I add it to my diary. Don't just let me say I'm going to do it. I'm going to call you back. So Doc, could you please add it to your diary now? It's one thing I tell people to help to keep me accountable. Try to get me to put it on my diary. That's the only way I'm going to remember, because I have a phone and I put things on my diary, and it alarms. Now, apart from that, I've identified to give 2 persons the responsibility, because here's what happened. If I have 10 persons to get back to, that's more difficult than if I have 2 persons. Deal with 2 persons, and those 2 persons, part of their job description now is to help to remind me who I need to get back to, because it's very difficult for me to remember all of these persons, and more people are keep on calling and calling and calling and calling and calling and calling and calling, and it stresses me out. So I want to be around, and I want to be able to help more persons. So I said to persons, if it is that it is something that I said that I'm going to do, please ensure that I add it to my diary. Don't just let me say I'm going to call you back, or I tell you I'm gonna call you back. Please ensure that I write it down in my diary. Mm-hmm. All right. I need it for sure. So let me know that and then apart from that, no, I have two persons. So writing it down, or journaling, as somebody just said, helps tremendously in terms of um relieving the stress. Somebody Irish Smith said Jamaica is a multiple crisis: government stress, inflation, rising food prices, and the impact of the global recession. Yeah, so and I mean it's not unique to Jamaica. You know, a lot of times we behave as if a lot of what is happening is unique to Jamaica. Look at what's happening in the rest of the world. I mean, you know, a lot of changes are happening. So people are stressed all over. A lot of persons in Jamaica sometimes make it look as if what's happening in Jamaica is unique to all the family members and say, a foreign, send more money comes. Because it's as if we don't understand that they are under stress too. So stress is everywhere. So we have to craft a way to handle it. So one of the ways is writing things down. Another way um, to help alleviate stress, and most persons may not think it's effective, but it's very effective, is prayer. Some person may not think prayer is helpful, but there's a verse that says that if it was in this life that we had hope alone, we would be like men most miserable. And so one of the comfort is we can go to a supreme entity, supreme being, the Most High, and we can talk to Him. Because guess what happened? When we one that causes stress is not talking, not sharing, and sometimes we don't have somebody trustworthy enough. In some parts of America, I should say, in most foreign countries, stress is understood to be a medical condition. So a lot of times, persons are recommended to go to a counselor. In Jamaica, if you do counseling as a profession, you're going dead for hungry. Because even though it is a medical condition, in Jamaica, we don't see it as such. And so, one of the ways that we can alleviate our stress is by talking about it in prayer. And if we have a good friend or a good family member, a loving spouse, an understanding husband, an understanding wife, an understanding partner that we can talk to, it helps a lot by talking about what you're going through. ICU sex helps relieve stress. Yeah, man, it helps. Because part of what causes stress, I know for men, is when they're having financial issues and every other stress and not getting any sex. That adds a lot to it. So that's also something that helps with stress. But prayer helps. Also affirmation, positive affirmation. Finding positive affirmations that you can make helps to relieve stress. Now, apart from those non-physical activities, there are some natural remedies. So let's talk about some of the natural remedies. Harry says we need to plant our own food in Jamaica. What should we plant, Dr. Ben? I'm gonna answer that. Um, a lot of times, a lot of times, it's not that we need to plant because I was saying to somebody today that you know one thing I'm concerned about. I'm talking to me folks. You look at the news and you see what's happening all over the world. You see what's happening in China. You see what's happening, you know, I mean, some huge economies like Europe and Canada and America. And you hear them talking about I'm a bit I don't understand why is it that as a country, and this is now a task that I'm going to have with the government, why is it that as a country, we have not, the government has not, up until now, made a statement to at least let us know that tough times are coming and what are some of the things that we need to do in order to brace ourselves for what is coming. Elaine says, and I wasn't finished with the question. I would bake and eat them. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I missed that. Because as you said, Elaine, ask the question again. I didn't see the question. At least, one of the things that we need to do is not necessarily plant some more foods. One thing that I've been saying is one thing that we need to do is to expand. So there should be an education campaign now. There should be an educational campaign now about not just eat what we grow and grow what we eat. Because for some people, we depend on external entities for the seeds that we plant in order to get the vegetables that we need. So with what is happening now and the global supply being disrupted, it is a possibility that a lot of these seeds are going to be hoarded and not be available for us. So one of the things that I believe the government should be doing, there should be an educational drive or campaign now to identify among what we have already as edible plants. And this may be very important for the most vulnerable in our society. In other words, there are persons who will be hungry. There are persons who will be hungry who have purslane growing wild in their yard. Wild food. There are persons who will be hungry who will have wild hook growing in their community. There are persons who will be hungry who will have fat and barrow in their community growing wild. So there are a lot of vegetables, there are a lot of plants that were included in the list of vegetables that we used to eat 50 years ago, that still grow wild in Jamaica and still grow abundantly in Jamaica, that most Jamaicans don't know about. So in the short term, one of the things that the government should be doing is having an educational campaign to educate and inform people in the short term about the vegetables that are growing wild. That's in the short term. Then we should have mid-term and long-term plans. Because I've said it already and I will continue to say it and echo it. The next crisis is going to be a food and medicine crisis. The next crisis is going to be a food and medicine crisis. If you think it tough, wait until the powers that be start to tamper with what is considered to be medicine and the distribution and the availability of medicine. The next crisis is going to be a food and medicine crisis. And that is why I'm saying to you, my people, that we cannot depend on the government. This is something that you need to know. When you are hungry and have these plants growing around you, you saying that the government has failed you will not fool your belly or fool the belly of your children. When certain medicines become unavailable or certain drugs become unavailable, you saying that the government don't care about you will not help you nor your family member with the ailment that they have. This is a responsibility that you have to take up in your hands. And that is the reason why I'm spending so much time and effort in educating persons about the medicines and the foods that are found abundantly around us. Because part of the deception and part of the misconception about food scarcity and medicine scarcity is the fact that ignorance is too prevalent among us. Ignorance is too prevalent among us. We have become too dependent on outside forces that we have allowed generations to grow up not knowing what our ancestors ate, and were far more healthier than we are now. We have become irresponsible. Nothing wrong with having these vegetables. Nothing wrong with that. But while we have these foods, these, and I should say nothing wrong because a lot of them are genetically modified. So we have replaced the natural foods, or we have forgotten the natural foods, and we have replaced them with genetically modified foods. And he who controls the genetically modified foods, when they don't make them available to us, we are going to starve, even though we have healthier options around us. So what I'm saying is, we can't continue to rely on the government and look to the government and look to this. No, we have to take it up in our own hands. So some herbs now that can help with stress. Passion flower. Passion flower leaves, and this is found in Jamaica, passion flower leaves are excellent in aiding and alleviating stress. Passion flower leaves. It's a mild sedative, so it helps to relax and it helps to keep you calm. Soursop leaf or soursop bark, not a mild laxative that helps leaf, passion flower is also very good. Sorry about that. The internet is in and out, guys. Queen Breeze said, what about lavender tea? Yeah, so lavender is also very good. Helps to relax you. Helps to pumpkin seeds provide zinc. Elaine, what a benefit does pumpkin seeds provide? So pumpkin seeds are very high in zinc, so they help, especially they're very good for men. They're very good for the brain as well. Good night, All family and life, bless up, but they can miss you. All right, so good night, Mike Reed. So those are some herbs that help with stress and anxiety. If you're living in America, there's this herb called Mother's Worth. It's also very good. There's valerian. That's also very good. These are some herbs that are outside of the Caribbean, outside of Jamaica, that that are very good in terms of helping with stress and anxiety as well. Mother's Word, all right? So those are some herbs that are very good. All right. So we've looked at digestive ailments. We've looked at uh, stress, and I want to talk about another challenge that I see that affects that is very common. I want to talk about some skin conditions. I want to talk about acne, eczema, rashes, and fungal infections. All right. Maybe I should ask you guys if you have any questions. Please, if you have any questions, please put them on the line. Tonight, we are talking about herbal remedies for common ailments. I'm looking at a whole bunch of common ailments, and I don't know if I get a chance to go through them tonight because I'm looking at a whole bunch of common ailments that that affect us. Sometimes when we have a regular show, we don't get a chance to go into them. But I'm just throwing them out, and I want you to just ask your questions. If this is something that relates to you, this is something that affects you, then throw your questions out there, and I will answer them. So skin conditions, because I see a lot of that that's on the rise. As a matter of fact, my daughter music, she has she in our company, because our company is a family operated business. So myself, my wife, my eldest son, my eldest daughter, we're all involved in it. So my eldest daughter now, she's evolving into skincare, and body care, and I'm working with her. I'm working with her in using and combining herbs, or formulating, creating formulas that are relating to skin conditions. So one herbs I want to put on, OT, see if I find the herb called day jasmine. Day jasmine, that, good, day jasmine. Now, this herb is one of the best herbs, and I don't use that word loosely, but it is one of the best herbs out there for a number of skin conditions. I've shared it with one of my students, and she has reported some phenomenal testimonials, asset. I plan to have her on one of my shows. She's doing phenomenal work. Asset. So she has created a soap from this herb, day jasmine, for so if you know of anybody who has psoriasis, psoriasis, or the skin condition, we have a soap and we have an oil for that. My daughter is also among the persons who have put together a formula for psoriasis. If you know of anybody who has psoriasis, this is one of the best herbs traditionally that has been used, and that is used. I actually have a video on our YouTube channel of a lady who was poisoned and who ended up having her skin changing. I've talked about it many times. She had gotten some bad injection, and I see a question, Avis, I'm going to answer. And her skin was changing like a lizard. So my wife and I, we left the office for the day. When we came back, we saw this lady sitting on that time at the veranda of the office, cloaked in a sheet. And when we came back and saw, because we just saw her alone, we came and we looked around her, because my wife is very meticulous about cleansing and sweeping and so on. And when we came, we saw all this white flake on the ground. And we were wondering, where so much dust come from? To our amazement, it was dead skin cells from the woman's body. Dead skin cells. In the little time that she was there, you would want to see the amount of dead skin cells from the crown of her head to the sole of her feet was completely covered in scales that were falling off. And she was swollen. If you look at our video, one of our video, if you go to our channel and look, we took her on a retreat. And among the therapies that we did was that we used this herb to give her a herbal bath. Psoriasis. Thank you, OT. And in 10 days' time, we couldn't believe the property that we're doing the retreat, that we're hosting the retreat, the owner of the property, because we had just started using the property. And when we took in the lady, he was concerned that with ailments like those or conditions like those coming in on the property, it would stigmatize his property. And he was a bit, apprehensive. And when he saw the lady, after 10 days, he couldn't believe. And I think we documented it. I documented because I at that time my office was in Port Antonio and the facility was like 45 minutes away. So I would have to go there in the evenings. So I didn't do it from day one, but I think from day 3 or day 4, we started documenting on video, and it was amazing. No, I'm saying that all that to say that this is the herb. This was the primary herb that we used. No, psoriasis is not, so psoriasis is not contagious. But yeah, it's a skin condition where the immune system is attacking itself. And what happens is that the skin cells that are supposed to change and to die in like every, say, month, that process will be taking every 3-4 days. So the skin cells are rapidly changing faster than they should. So this was the herb, and we've had many more persons using this herb. Good night, Dr. Ben. I have acne. Can I get a contact number, please? I need a soap. All right. So Stephanie, OT will put the number on the screen for you to call the number. But this is one of the herbs that works significantly for skin condition. Another, and this is, I can tell you, especially for psoriasis, a whole host of skin condition, including psoriasis and not necessarily acne, but eczema. So this herbs works extremely well for eczema and psoriasis and a number of other skin conditions. So this particular soap or the oil works extremely well. And I was in Port Antonio the other day. I was in a hardware and I met a gentleman. And when I saw him with psoriasis, I said, listen, we can help you. So with him, when he came, we took pictures of him. He's now 3 days on it. So look out for the pictures we're going to post them, because I love to share with persons, because I don't want anybody to think that, I am doing this. I don't take the credit, I give all credit to the Most High Yahuwah. But then, apart from the Most High, the body heals itself. So all we do is we just give the body the raw material that it needs, and the body heals itself. So I don't take any credit. So that's the reason I'm sharing it. So what I did, if you do it, no, not that number OT, not that number, the one that I sent you in the private chat. Look in the private chat. That number stressing me out. So those are the two numbers that if you really want to get me, the two persons assigned to those numbers, they will ensure that I get back to you. They won't let up until I get back to you. So that's the best number to get me on. You won't call me and get me directly, but believe me, you will get to me. Because those persons, they will not let up until I get back to you. They ensure that I get to you. All right? So this herb is one of the best herbs. The next herb called King of the Forest. OT. King of the Forest. So that's the number to get me on. This is the word. Cassia alata. King of the Forest. Now this herb is anti-bacterial, antifungal, and antiviral. Which means it has a wide spectrum of uses. Right? It has a wide spectrum of uses. And so it's one of the herbs that we have a soap from that too. Cerasee is another herb. You can put up the cerasee for those who don't know cerasee. I think I sent you a picture of cerasee too, for those who don't know cerasee. That's another herb. Neem, don't put a picture of neem, but neem is another herb that works extremely well for skin condition, because a lot of the time, even though dieting has to do with it, that's why I have to talk to you. Dieting has to do with it, but for the most case, a lot of times it can be remedied topically. All right. So that's the number to call me on, guys. And I want to emphasize that because I really feel stressed. I'm stressed out when you call me and when you message me and I don't get a chance to get back to you. It's not that I don't want to get back to you. It's just sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the amount of messages. I have two WhatsApp numbers, and then I'm mostly always talking to somebody in a consultation. So when you call me, that's the reason why you can't get me. And then I keep on not forgetting to call back. I spend a lot of stress that I go through is trying to remember who I need to call back. So when you call these numbers, these two persons, so those persons who say, boy, I'm going to call back Dr. Ben, these are the two numbers to call. These are the two numbers to call to get me on. As I said, when you call me, you won't get me directly. But when you call these numbers, if you want to do a consultation, you call these numbers. Once you call these numbers, and you're guaranteed to get through to me. And they're all on WhatsApp. So if you're calling and don't get anybody, just leave a message. I promise you, you won't have the complaint to say, I'm trying to get you and I won't get you. So I've created these two numbers so that, I don't have that stress anymore. Alright? So, King of the Forest. This is one of the very good herbs out there for skin conditions, a number of acne issues. And of course, it has to do with the diet. A lot of times, the sebaceous gland is producing too much oil, too much fat, so the pores are clogged. I saw somebody when they talk about exfoliation. There is a herb. Again, there's a herb that's very good for exfoliation. It's called loofah. Loofah. Anybody know loofah? I didn't put a picture of it. Our loofah sponge. So it's a natural exfoliating material that is produced by a plant. It looks like a cucumber, but when it's dried or when it's fully matured, it has a very fibrous. The fruit becomes a very fibrous, abrasive material that is excellent for exfoliating the skin. These again were things that our ancestors used. We didn't know about these exfoliating scrubs and so on. A man would just get him loofah and he would just sometimes use him cucumber on it, or him use him sugar on it with egg or what have you, and he would just rub and it would help to alleviate that. And by the way, I should say that loofah, when you exfoliate the skin, one of the things that you do is when you rub the loofah on your skin, one of the things that happens is that it encourages the skin to produce collagen. So it's excellent as an anti-aging component, because when your body don't produce enough collagen, then you wrinkle, your skin gets soft, right? When you see somebody having a corn, it is too much collagen that is produced in that area that causes that toughness, that hardness, that stiffness. So once you get older, the body's collagen production level goes down. Loofah is very good in helping the body to produce collagen. So it's anti-aging and it helps with a number of skin conditions. All right, any questions, guys? So we talk about the king of the forest. We talk about the Cersei. Then there's aloe vera. Not a very good plant. The gel is very good for acne. It's also very good for soothing the skin, especially where there's inflammation. So you can just get the plant and cut the fresh gel. And then if you have to store it on the fridge, you store it on the fridge if you have to store it. And then you can just use it, apply it to wherever you need to apply it to help reduce inflammation or itching or burning or anything like that. Aloe vera is an excellent herb. The gel is an excellent herb for a host of health issues. Can we get that from you, Dr. Ben? Loofah? No, I don't have any loofah now, Elaine. But I have some seeds. I plan to plant some. As I said, I'm working with my daughter, so very soon we're gonna have loofah sponge, loofah soap, and a whole product line of loofah. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to partner with my children and students in developing products. I don't want to do it all. I can't do it all. So I'm working with students and I'm working with my children in terms of helping them to produce products. My goal, for what I want to see in Jamaica, I alone can't do it. Oh, you're great. I'm in. All right. For what I want to see in Jamaica, there is no way I alone can do it. I want to see herbalism being fully developed in Jamaica to a level where it is respected. It is uniform, it is consistent, and we see, so we have, so part of what I'm doing is I believe in, like Bitcoin, I believe in decentralizing. So I want to decentralize myself. I want to see more persons being able to do what what I've been blessed to know how to do. So I'm deliberately now outsourcing myself into other persons. So, soon I'll work with them to develop a product that they are known by. So I'll work with one to develop a soap, one with oil, one with a tincture, one with this or that, and then from there, help them to expand into other products. And the goal is to see enough healthcare providers across Jamaica that can help our people. I give thanks for some of the changes that are happening on the global stage. Because one of the things that, I don't know if you're paying attention, but one of the things that I've learned from it is that right now it's every man for themselves. We're seeing new markets, new countries coming together to form trading partners. We're seeing new trading partners being formed, new relationships, new alliances, persons who used to outsource their security, who used to outsource their healthcare needs, are now realizing that we can't outsource these critical infrastructure or these critical areas. We have to now manage these areas by ourselves, or we have to partner with persons and do it for ourselves. And it is sad that we have, as a country, we have outsourced our food source. We have outsourced our medicine source. And I want to stop pointing hands on the government. I want you to point yourself at you. How many plants do you know that can help you with digestive issues? How many plants do you know that can help you with skin conditions? How many foods do you know that grow wild? So we need to stop looking at others and begin to look at ourselves. All right, so these are some plants that help with skin conditions. Now I want to look at diabetes and hypertension. Diabetes and hypertension. Now, there are many plants that are. Let's go with that. Oh, all right. So I spoke about acne, eczema, rashes, fungal infections. I didn't. Before I move from the skin, I want to talk about rashes and fungal infections. I want to talk a little bit about that. Because a lot of people are not able to distinguish the skin conditions, the different skin conditions that exist on the body. And so, fungal infections is another one. And so exposure to dirty water, contaminated water. See, I remember last year a lady came to me telling somebody a joke. And she said, Dr. Ben didn't show blow on my shop door. I said, why you say that? She showed me her foot. She showed me her hand. And we know, one of the ways we know fungal and fungal infection is when you see the abnormal skin condition, but when you see there's whiteness. When you see there's a lot of whiteness, it's a sign that it's one of the signs that it's fungal. And I said, no man, nobody trying to blow your doorway. We can help you with that. So sent her to the pharmacy. We got some neem oil. We normally make our own, but I was in my St. Thomas office, so we make medicines in Portland. So we got the neem oil and we added some tea tree oil to it. All right, liver spot, good. And I said it's gonna hit 3 days time. The lady, I said you need to come back and show the nurse I may not be here. Just let me see what it looked like. In 3 days time, she came back and it was completely gone. A lot of times people say people throw a blow for them and obey them. So, fungal infections. I should have added guaco, OT. I didn't send it to you. I should have added guaco because it's another very good herb for skin conditions as well. Very good herb for skin conditions. And you know, if you're dealing with contaminated water, and also I see a lot of persons, you know, I'm in St. Thomas and I see a lot of persons who come to me, who come to us with skin infections caused by handling ackee. We see a lot of persons from the ackee factory, the ackee canning factory. Because when you handle ackee and the stain goes into your bloodstream, it causes a lot of flare up on the skin. We see some people who are allergic to cement. A lot of people in the construction field who are allergic to cement, who because of exposure to cement are not wearing gloves, they have abnormal skin condition. We see a lot of men who work in the automotive world, especially mechanics, who drain the bad oil from the engine and it gives them skin conditions. These are some herbs. King of the Forest is one of the herbs out there that's very effective against those skin conditions. All right, so I just wanted to add that because, you know, it's not just the psoriasis, but fungal infections, rashes, eczema. So the herbs, the day jasmine, between the day jasmine, the neem, and the king of the forest, these are some of the top 3 herbs that are effective against these kinds of skin conditions. Now, even though, and we talk about herbal baths, by the way, one of the ways to benefit from these herbs is through herbal baths. Right? So you can do 2 things. You can either get the herb, and you can just crush the herbs in the cold water. Or you can make a decoction, which is you can add the herbs to hot water, draw them as a tea, and then when it cools, use it to bathe. But an even more effective way of using these herbs is by or through herbal salve. This is now something that you may not be knowledgeable of, and this is where we make salves from these herbs. And what is a salve? A salve is a herbal formulation that has been prepared in what we call a form where it's the active ingredients are not easily evaporated. So we prepare the formulation in a form where evaporation does not cause the active ingredients to vanish, because they're in a oil-based form. When they're applied topically, they stay on the skin for a longer period of time, and you're able to benefit from the medicinal benefits of those plants. All right? So, with a bath, as soon as you have that herbal bath, the body begins to dry. The water begins to dry on the body. So the herb doesn't get to spend a lot of contact time with the skin to help you. But when we make a salve and put it on the skin, the herbs have a longer contact time with the skin, so it's able to work over a longer period of time and help you to heal much quicker. All right, so that's so herbal salves are very effective. Herbal baths, if you don't have salves, but herbal salves are even more effective because they take a longer time to evaporate. Do you have any herbs for frequent urination? Stefan Samuels McCleary says, yeah, for frequent urination, there are a number of herbs. At the top of the list is the corn silk. Right? The hair of the corn, top of the list. Then there is a red water grass. Then there is the shema darling. You know, these are herbs that are very effective in helping with frequent urination, and also if you're having urinary tract infection. All right? All right, so let's move on now to diabetes. We're going to talk about diabetes and hypertension. We're going to finish up on that. Diabetes and hypertension. All right, so OT, I want you to, not that plant, yes, this one, the baba, is that I have there, it's actually banaba. Let me write it on the chat, not baba, it's banaba. Let me write it. B-A-N-A-B-A, banaba plant. Anybody know this tree? It's called the pride of India. Banaba. And this is one of the herbs that are very effective for managing insulin for diabetic persons. right? It's called the banaba plant, and it grows here in Jamaica. Um, you can look it up on YouTube. I should have sent a second picture of the plant with the seeds. I tried to, but this is actually, it's actually grown as an ornamental. It's grown as an ornamental, and it is featured in a lot of um, lawns and gardens, especially here in Kingston. You usually find this tree on large properties, banana plant. It works similar to how the cinnamon works, right? It works similar to the cinnamon in that it helps with glucose metabolism. And the part of this plant that we use is the leaf. Banaba plant. And using this plant, so if you use this plant with another plant, I want to share with you. See if you can find the yellow elder OT, the yellow elder. Yes, Teddy P says, I got it from the forestry department. Yes, you can get it from the forestry department because it's grown as an ornamental. It's very beautiful, but I don't even know that it's very effective in the treatment of diabetes. It's using Ayurvedic medicine. So that's one of the plants, and I wanted to show something. I'm not talking about some that you know, but this is another plant, yellow elder. This is a plant that mostly grown. It's mostly grown. Funny enough, this is a plant that you don't find it in a lot of communities. You know where you find this plant? You find this plant on most roadsides. So if you're traveling from St. Anne or Ochiras to Montego Bay, it grows on almost both sides of the road. If you're traveling from Morant Bay to Kingston, it's almost on both sides of the roads. If you're traveling from Spanish Town to Old Harbour, it almost grows on both sides of the roads. So this plant is very effective, has been traditionally used for diabetes. If you look it up, you'll find one of the side effects they say is that it potentially has the ability to lower your blood pressure, your blood sugar, than what it should be. It's called yellow elder. And I've done a video on it on my YouTube channel, ICM TV. A lot of these plants, if you want a better description, I've actually done videos on them on our ICM TV channel. So where I go more in depth. So if you check out our channel, ICM TV, we do, there's a series that I used to do called Herbal is Speaking. It's very beautiful, Elaine. But this herb is not just beautiful, it's very good for diabetes. And you don't have to use a lot of plants with this one. You can maybe use the banaba with it, or you can use cinnamon with it, and it's very good. So Stefan, yeah, so can I boil? Yeah, you can add, you can use the banaba and you can use the yellow elder together. These are two good plants. They help with sugar metabolism, and you can add cinnamon to if you want. That's another plant that's also very good for diabetics. There is also cerasee that is good for diabetes. Very good. So you can, and in terms of recipe, let me give you a recipe. Now, most of these plants, I recommend that you get the leaves, you dry them, then you blend them into a powder. So you have converted the plant into what I call a dosageable format. So now we can talk dosage. So you get it, you dry it, Then you blend it to a powder, and then you can now use it in a dosable form. So if you use 100 grams of this herb, with 50 grams of the banana, and then 20 grams of the cinnamon, you would have a very effective diabetic medicine. If you want, you can add cerasy to it. You can add also neem to it. And if you're adding those, I would say add them as in 100 gram. So 100 gram of yellow elder, 100 gram of neem, 100 gram of cerasy, 50 gram of banana, and about 20 gram of cinnamon. You grind everything to powder and you combine it, and you have an effective diabetic medicine. All right. So, and before I talk about this plant, because I don't want to be guilty of enabling persons, because diabetes is really is a lifestyle disease. So I don't want to join the list of herbalists who cause people to think they can live an irresponsible lifestyle and correct it with herbs. I don't want to do that. So I normally start out by talking about the lifestyle that would contribute to the problem, and the lifestyle changes that needs to be made, and then talk about the herbs that you can use to help you. So you don't want to have a lifestyle. First of all, when you have diabetes, I said to the person, the first thing you need to get is a blood sugar machine. Get a blood sugar machine. The second thing that you need to do is to understand that you can't eat like how you used to eat. Right? You can't eat like how you used to eat. You have to eat a specific way. Good? And so, one thing that causes type 2 diabetes is what we call, our type 2 diabetes is called insulin resistance, which means that the body's insulin receptors have been turned off. Right? The body's insulin receptors have been turned off. It's not taking up insulin. So because the insulin is not being taken up, and the blood sugar in the bloodstream increases. So one of the major factors for that is the pancreas usually is producing too much insulin. So one thing you want to do is you want to reduce the pancreas's production of insulin. And one of the ways that you decrease the pancreas production of insulin is by, first of all, stop eating the foods that encourage the pancreas to produce high levels of insulin. So sugar, we know, is one of them, but also complex protein. Right? Because the body can convert complex protein into sugar. Right? So you want to reduce your sugar intake, you want to reduce your complex protein. And by the way, when I talk about complex protein, I'm talking about meat. Right? So you want to reduce your meat intake. Stefan is asking about frequent urination. Frequent urination can be caused by diabetes, and it can be caused by also urinary tract infection or enlarged prostate. So I don't know which one you're talking about, Stefan. Irish Smith is saying, so Dr. Ben, we need to add plants to our medicine garden and stores. Well, one thing I would say, Irish, is that sometimes we don't need to add. What we need to do is to know what we have already. Because, one thing I said to the person is a lot of the times, the medicines that we need are already growing in our yard and in our gardens. So sometimes it's not that we need to add. What we need to do is to become informed and to become educated. As I always say, the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. Even the medication is natural. Right? And so, one thing I say to the person is that we need to become educated. A lot of the times, I go to persons, I do house visit. I'm going to do one in St. Anne I think tomorrow or somewhere down that side tomorrow. And when I go to houses, one of the first thing that I do is I take a glance at the plants in the yard. First thing I do. And then after seeing the persons, I confirm it. Most of the time, the person who the medicine that the person need is growing in their yard. Most of the time, the medicine is growing in their yard. So the problem is not the medicine, the problem is the ignorance of the medicine. Marva says, is there any plant to drink for Parkinson's disease? Yes, there are plants that help with Parkinson's disease. And one of the plants that's very effective is a plant called it's called Macuna pruriens. Let me type it. It's called Macuna pruriens. And in Jamaica, we call it courage. Courage. Very good for that problem. And that's the reason why Marva says identifying it. That's the reason why Marva, every Sunday at 3 o'clock, I didn't do one this Sunday, but every Sunday at 3 o'clock, I do a series called 60 Minutes with Mother Nature. Because my goal is not just to see persons. My goal is not just to guide persons in terms of what they need to take to get better. One of my joy is helping persons to be able to identify the medicines for themselves. One of the things that I want to see persons do is a diary. In all of my videos, there's a link to a diary, and I'm encouraging persons. There's this initiative that I call it the 12 by 12 by 12 Herbal initiative. And the 12 by 12 Herbal initiative is an initiative to help 1,200 persons. Listen to this. The initiative is to help 1,200 people learn 120 herbs by the 12th month. Listen to this again. The initiative is to help 1,200 people. And it's for free. The goal is to help 1,200 people learn 120 herbs by the 12th month. And I have a group called the Kinder Wellness Community. And by the way, I should say, guys, if you're listening, with all of what I'm doing, with all the different initiatives that I have, I'm looking for help. I'm looking for people to help. And there's just so much that I want to see. Come May, which is Child's Month, I'm doing a series on natural birthing. It's basically focused on, I believe that as indigenous people, as natural people, one of the things that we have outsourced is giving birth. One of the things that I believe we should have, and you don't know, I have a doula, a doula, and a midwife. I'm doing a 4-week series on educating our women, and the goal is to help them to understand how much power they have given up. We have allowed ourselves to be duped, to be convinced, or to be conned into believing that the process of giving birth is not natural. And we have bought into the concept so much so that something as natural and as spiritual as giving birth that responsibility has now been given to hospitals. Women, birthing is natural. And some of you who have children who have problems, you know where the problems start from? Sometimes the first person who touched your child, you don't know what spiritual problems, what spiritual energy was passed on to your children. Birthing and dying are two spiritual process are two spiritual experiences that should be dealt with in a spiritual environment. You know, when a person dies, there's a reason why when the person dies, the hospital gives the body over and the minister or religious entity sees that person's off. The religious entity does the final rites of seeing that person transition, being laid to rest. Now, just like how dying, burying a person is a spiritual experience or a spiritual rite or a spiritual activity, birth should be treated in a similar way. In most parts of the world, when a woman is having, when there's nothing more significant, there's nothing more spiritual, there's nothing more more powerful than when a child is entering the world. So, you know, part of what I want to see is I want to see, you know, birthing centers where women can go and have children naturally. So we talk about natural medicine, natural births. Doc, I asked you what is good for frequent urination. You said red water grass, corn hair, and shaved garlic. So I'm asking if I can boil all three herbs in one. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Um, you know, you can. All right. All right. So I don't want to. I don't want to burst that bubble, but I'm doing a series on natural births, and I've started so many different groups, so many different, and each of them have a role to play. And a lot of times I don't have moderators, I don't have admins, and sometimes I move on to something else and they get neglected. One of the things that we found was our kinder wellness community. If you're interested in being an admin in our kinder wellness community, if you're not working and you want to volunteer, then let me know. That was the group that we formed, and it was designed to be a Telegram group where persons who were interested in identifying plants in their yard, they could join that group and then they could share the plants that they have, and in the group we would help each other, would help persons to identify plants, and we talk about how to use them and so on and so forth. So you know, these are just systems that I've created to help in the process of fulfilling the vision. You know, so you know, I would love to get some help um, from persons. All right, so for diabetes, you know, that's one good herb. And then now for hypertension, here's a good recipe for hypertension. The body have hypertension, good recipe for hypertension. Now I found that so vervein, blue vervein. By the way, this is blue vervein, and blue vervein is also very good. It was one of the plants that we had that was good for the nerves. So I should have. I think I didn't. I don't know if I mentioned it, but that's also. I mean, apart from it's a nerve tonic, but apart from helping women with a number of other underlying issues, vervein is actually very good for stress. So it's a very good nerve tonic, good for stress, good for headaches, um, and those ailments. All right. Let me see the next herb. Which other herb do you have? OT. We look at that one. We look at that one. We look at that one. Which other one? Do we have any more? I think that's it. All right. But for hypertension, um, there's guinea grass. So I was talking about guinea grass, and The root of this herb is also very good for the stomach. So you can take a fork, mash it won't get you there. You have to get a fork and you have to dig it up. And the root is very good for the stomach. The plant, the upper portion is very good for weight loss. Right? So it's if you're having weight loss issue, um, juicing the middle leaf. So you get the middle leaf and you juice it. There's actually a formula I have, but this herb is excellent for helping with weight loss. All right, and it's a diuretic, by the way. Helps you to help with edema, and it helps with certain kidney ailments. All right, so the last condition that I want to talk about is, so we've looked at the digestive ailments, we've looked at uh, constipation, acid reflux, indigestion, bloating, and we looked at the herbs that help with that. We've looked at skin conditions. Um, we looked at eczema. We looked at fungal skin conditions. We've looked at acne. All right. For stress, we looked at insomnia, not sleeping. We talk about the soursop leaf. Talk about the valerian root. All right. We talk about that. We talk about journaling and so on. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about tonight is hypertension. We looked at diabetes. The last thing that I want to look at is hypertension. And you know, hypertension is a cardiovascular disease, right? And we look at it. So this is a source which is good for the skin, but it's also good for belly ache. So blood purgative is good for diabetes as well. So that is a source. So we're going to look at hypertension, and hypertension is caused by a weakened cardiovascular system. So whenever I see somebody, there are 12 major systems that govern the body. 12 major systems. So when somebody comes to us, what we do is, so if there's anybody who has ever come to us, who has ever visited us, we use what is called, I also practice what is called quantum medicine. So we have a device that we use. And by the way, um, you know, if you're in the New York area, we can assess you using this machine. Quantum, if you're in Florida, so if you're in Florida or near Florida, we can use the machine to assess you. And I think if you're near Georgia, we can use the machine to assess you. So what we do is that you don't have to tell me what's wrong with you. Once you come and you don't eat 2 hours before, you're not having your menstrual cycle, we assess you. So that's basically what we're doing. If you come to our office in Portland, if you come to our office in Morant Bay, if you come to our office in Kingston, if you're also in the Kingston area, the matter of fact, right now I'm in Kingston. What our headache, my head hurting. As I said, I'll have to talk to you more direct to find out what's causing that. Headache can be caused by a number of factors. All right, but what we do is we put you on the machine, and once we put you on the machine, we then can, to some extent, get more insight as to what's happening to you. So that's what we really do in our consultations. If you came for a consultation, not a telemedicine consultation, but you came to visit us in St. Anne or Morant Bay or Portland, then we would do that, and then we have persons in Kingston who do it uh, through house visits. So if you're in the Kingston area and you would want, we have persons we have trained who will come to you and do the assessment. If you're in the Old Harbor area, we have persons. So that I'll send the person with the machine and I can stay where I am in St. Thomas and I can see you. If you're in New York, I'll send it to somebody in New York and I can stay right here and see you. If you're in Florida, I can send it to somebody in Florida and I can stay right here and see you as if I'm right there in Florida with you. So once we see you and we find out what's wrong, then we are now better able to help you as it relates to medicine, right? So that is basically what we do. Now, there are a number of conditions that we can there are a number of conditions that we can see you and help you with remotely, but there are some that you would have to come to Jamaica. I would have to see you physically to help you with. All right, but I want to look at cardiovascular ailments. Now, have you ever why high blood pressure don't affect people within a particular age group, like in their 20s or 10 or 11? If I wonder why, because when you're going to deal with sick person, you have to first understand what is a normal state, what contributes to the normal state. You have to first know that before you can know what is abnormal. All right. So in a young person, when we are young and healthy, our body produces what is called nitric oxide. Something our body produces. And nitric oxide is what naturally regulates our blood pressure. Right? So as we get older, our nitric oxide levels decrease. Once our nitric oxide level decreases, then what happens is that we no longer have what naturally regulates the body temperature on the show. You better about show, Elaine. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you. We no longer are producing what naturally regulates the body, the veins, and what regulates the body's pressure. And because of that now, so that's one. Then two, depending on the diet that we follow, our blood vessels that are supposed to be elastic becomes calcified. So certain types of food causes calcification of the blood vessels. So the blood vessels don't expand and contract as they should. So what happens now is that when the heart contracts and force the blood through the vein, because the veins are not elastic enough to accommodate that increased pressure, then what happens is that pressure builds up. Let me write the courage. Yeah, it's also called velvet beans. So it's called courage. So the blood vessel, that's courage. So that's what you have to look for, courage. Courage, courage, called velvet bean and Macuna pruriens. Alright? And let me just deviate there. So Macuna pruriens or velvet beans is one of nature's highest source of a chemical that the body produces called dopamine. Right? So you know the word dope. Dope is a substance that gets you high. Right? So our body produces dopamine. And dopamine has a number of functions. And so when dopamine levels drop, it causes a number of nerve related diseases. That's why this herb is so important. So courage, not the nettle that we call courage now, but courage or velvet bean. It's very effective. And when I tell you about it, I'm not talking about me read on Google. I'm talking about I've used these products before. I have experience in seeing people benefit from them. So I'm not just telling you about when we read on Google or when we hear about somebody say these are herbs that I've seen persons use. We've given them to persons and we've seen excellent results from them. It's a very good herb. All right. Now, so the point that I was making is that so apart from the nitric oxide that is decreased as we get older, another issue that affects us is the calcification of the blood vessels, there hardening of the blood vessels, which now causes blood pressure problem. And this is a whole topic because when persons have blood pressure, they are given a number of classes of drugs. They are given statins, They have given COX inhibitors. They are given ACE inhibitors. Let me not go into them, right? Let me not go into them because I don't want to I don't want to sound like I'm negatively attacking them. But these classes, these different class of prescription medications are recommended because of how they work on the body. And that is because there are different factors that can cause high blood pressure. So for some persons, it can be that their heart is slowing down. It can be that their heart is speeding up. It can be that their blood vessels are hardened. It can be that their potassium is high. It can be that their potassium is low or sodium is high. There are just number of various factors that can cause high blood pressure. And so some natural compounds, for example, beetroot. Beetroot is a natural source of nitric oxide, right? It's a natural source of nitric oxide. For some persons who take it, it has high levels of iron. As a matter of fact, if you look at the beetroot, it's like it gives blood back to the body, right? But the beetroot powder is a natural source of nitric oxide, so it can help some persons uh, who have high blood pressure. And I'm saying this because, again, you have to consult your healthcare provider. 6 persons can have high blood pressure, and the 6 factors behind it are different. There's not a one thing that causes high blood pressure. And sometimes it's 3 of the 6, 4 of the 6, 6 of the 6, which is why sometimes you ever wonder why you are given so many different types of blood pressure medication? You wonder why? You are given those blood pressure medication because of how many factors are contributing to why you have high blood pressure. Right? And so that is the reason why what I'm saying to you has to be received in a context. So even though I'm talking about so many plants, even though I'm listing so many plants, it is still not for you to go and self-medicate yourself. Right? You have to be informed. I'm giving you information because I want you to know that there are natural alternatives. But how you take those natural alternatives or when you take those natural alternatives is very important. Also, what's important is that you can't take these natural alternatives 1 time or 2 times. Because guess what? Your medicine is supposed to be your food. And your food is supposed to be your medicine. So I want you to understand that within the context that I'm sharing tonight. So even though I've shared so much information, it has to be received in a context. It's not for persons to go now and self-medicate. So I said to persons, talk to your healthcare provider. I said to persons, try to get book a consultation with myself or with your healthcare provider, because even though I've shared so much, your unique circumstances may dictate or will dictate how you use this information I've shared with you tonight. So it's very important. That's why I don't have a problem to share information. I can share information because sharing information, and I mean, some of you, it also means that some of you can use it and you'll benefit. That's I say hallelujah to that. You can go there and you use it and you'll benefit tremendously. I love that. But for the most part, I'm really trying to be responsible, and I want you to be responsible in how you use the information. I hate when we have persons out there who just give persons information and just make it appear as if one cap fit all. There's no one cap fit all approach. Anything that can help you can potentially hurt you. And so what you need to do is you need to get that information within the context of your health, within the context of what's happening with you and within the context of what's happening in your body. All right? So I want to say that to you. So, so exercise is important. That's why, we've always heard them saying that, if you have cardiovascular disease, you need to exercise, but they don't explain why you need to exercise. One of the reasons why you need to exercise is that when you exercise, your heart rate increases. When your heart rate increases, then guess what happens? Your blood vessels, that's how your blood vessels exercise. Right? You're welcome, Miss B. That's how your blood vessels exercise. When you exercise, your heart rate increases, your blood volume increases. When your blood volumes increase in the blood, then guess what happens? Your blood vessels begin to do like this. Dilate and contract. Thank you. They begin to dilate and contract. And so when they begin to dilate and contract, it's going against the calcification or the non-elasticity that is taking place in your blood vessels. That now becomes very important. And that's the reason why when you try to go over a hill, you're breathing so heavily. But if you practice climbing that hill for about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, guess what happens? You start to realize that it becomes easier for you. Because guess what happens? Your blood vessels can begin to dilate and contract, which means you can deal with the oxygen better, so you don't have to be breathing that heavily. So hypertension, but let me give you, I'm going to give you a cocktail. I'm going to give you a cocktail. If you're having high blood pressure, I'm going to give you a cocktail that potentially can help you. It has been traditionally used, but it can potentially help you. Now, I said to persons, most herbs that produce a red flower is good for the blood. Most herbs. So hibiscus, sorrel, you name it. Most of the herbs out there that produce a red flower is good for the blood. So if you get if you get some sorrel, dehydrated sorrel. Now I see dehydrated sorrel very common in the supermarkets. Don't want to call it a brand, but there's a lot of supermarkets now that have dehydrated sorrel. Just get the dehydrated sorrel and blend it in a blender. Blend it dry to powder. When you blend it dry to powder, you're going to add, so like 100 grams. So write it down. So 100 gram of sorrel, 50 grams of garlic powder. Or if you want to make your own garlic powder, you can dehydrate it and then grind it to powder. So 100 grams of sorrel, 150 grams of garlic powder, 20 grams of cayenne pepper, and if you can get it, another 50 grams of oregano. And then you want to add that to about 700 ml water. Boil that. And you take 1 cup morning, 1 cup evening. That helps tremendously in monitoring your blood pressure. Apart from that, you have herbs like ackee leaf, ripe ackee leaf. Very good for the blood pressure. Ripe breadfruit leaf is also good for high blood pressure. Fever grass, very good for high blood pressure. Traditionally used for high blood pressure. These are herbs that I've recommended, I've seen work wonders for high blood pressure. These are some very important herbs that grow around us in large numbers. And as I said, I tell you to join me. We do a series on Sundays. Every Sunday at 3 o'clock, we do a series called 60 Minutes with Mother Nature. And then Sunday night at 8 p.m., I do a series called 60 Minutes with Mother Nature review. So in 60 Minutes with Mother Nature, I help you to identify the herb in the wild, because it's not only good to know the herb by name, what you need to do to know what it look like. So in 60 Minutes with Mother Nature, I share with you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 herbs, what they look like, so you're able to identify it. And then at 8 p.m. on Sunday, I go into the medicinal use of the herb. So any herb that we looked at in the day, in the night, what I do is I go into the medicinal use of the herb. And the reason why I do that is because some of you are not in Jamaica, so I can take you with me in the wild on a herb on a herb walk. And then some of the places that I go to look at the herbs, there's no internet, so I have to do a pre-recording. So I do a pre-recording of the herb, and then I do another live now in the evening to talk about the medicinal benefits. And my goal is that you will have a diary, and the hope is that you are able to document at least 120 herbs that is found in your immediate circle, that you are able to use now. Because I am in Jamaica, and some of you are not in Jamaica, I not only focus on the herbs, but I talk about how to use the five senses in determining the medicinal uses of herbs in your local area. So, for example, we'll talk about sorrel, or we'll talk about hibiscus, and we'll talk about herbs that produce red flowers, and we'll talk about what those herbs do. So if you are in Canada, or if you're in Africa, or if you're in England, if you come across a herb with a red flower, you don't even need to know the name of the herb. There are exceptions, but normally all of those herbs are good for your blood. If you saw a herb that is sour, like sorrel is sour. So sorrel, most sour herbs and most herbs in the taste when they are sour, they help to get rid of calcification, which means that they'll help to get rid of the hardness in the blood vessels. They can also be used in the eye if you have cataract, because calcification happens in different parts of the body, and they have different names, but are the same thing. So calcification in the eye, and then you have calcification in the joints and the tendons and the muscles have a different name. But the same herb will fix all of them. So the goal is to share with you not only the herb, but it is to share with you a system of how to understand how to use the herbs. Because more importantly than showing you the herb is learning a system that will allow you to know how to use the herbs irrespective of wherever in the world you are. So you can see a herb and know that the herb produce a yellow flower, and know that naturally, there are exceptions, but naturally, all herbs that produce a yellow flower help the urinary tract system. So if you have urinary tract infection, if you have kidney stones, if you have kidney cysts, you can say, well, yeah, this herb does this. And then if you document it, the goal is for you to have a diary where you document it, and you're able to do more investigative work on that particular herb. So the goal is for you to have 120 herbs in your arsenal that you become familiar with, that you become knowledgeable of. So when we created the Kinder Wellness Community, in the Kinder Wellness Community, the goal is that we would have somebody in Trinidad, we'd have somebody in Barbados, we'd have somebody in Guyana, we'd have somebody in Turks and Caicos in the group. So if I went to Barbados and I came across an ailment and I don't have a plant that I'm familiar with in Jamaica, I could call and say, hey, Elaine, I'm in Barbados now, and I've come across this particular ailment. Which herb here in Barbados would be good for that? That is the type of database, that is the type of system that I'm talking about that we as Caribbean people need to have. We need to form alliances. We need to form ourselves into group where we can benefit our own selves. So no matter tell me about you know this herb for diabetes and you are trying to keep it to yourself. And you know this herb for cancer, so you are trying to keep it to yourself. That is the reason why we are where we are. We need a system where this knowledge is kept, preserved, and protected for generations to come. That is what Indigenous Caribbean medicine are about. That is what traditional Chinese medicine has done, why they are where they are. That is what Ayurvedic medicine has done, why they are where they are. What system of medicine do we have for black people? What system of medicines do we have for our one people? Even though we're one of the oldest civilizations on the earth. What do we have? We don't have because we are too divided and we're too selfish and we're too driven by money. That's not our nature. We didn't, back in Africa, we didn't know boundaries. We didn't know land boundaries. We weren't, this selfishness and this notion, this misconception that we're allowed to creep into our culture, where we have given money so much power and so much value. Back where we are from, we are village people. Kinda. That's what we call it, the Kinda Wellness Community. Because our strength lies in the strength of the village, in the strength of the tribe, in the strength of the clan. And unless we get back to that, I don't know what is going to happen. But as I said, we need to stop. So, guys, I want to talk to you about the COVID injury recovery weekend. And that's coming up. It's April 26 to 27. If you're looking for an opportunity to come and immerse yourself in tremendous knowledge, then that is something that I would really recommend that you come to. We also have, you can reach out to me on our website. We have a retreat that's coming up. It's the 25th to the 27th as well. Please, if you can come, then this is where we want to share things with you that we don't want to share over the internet, because everything we share on the internet. I learned a new word this week or last week when I was doing our series on spirit medicine, and it is called chamu chamu yedeng. So it's used a lot in the Maroon community. Chamu chamu yedeng, and it means talk some and left some. So everything we talk on this platform now, called social media, we have to leave something for face-to-face meeting, face-to-face interaction. And that is something that I believe, it's something that while spending a lot of time with the Maroons and sharing with the Maroons and grasping from the Maroons, it's something that they believe very strongly. Talk some and leave some, and everything for share. Because one of the things that we have suffered from as a people is intellectual theft. A lot of what is considered to be medicine, a lot of what has been considered to be significant findings and inventions were actually invented, or knowledge that came from our people, but we have never been given the credit for it. And so, a set of persons that, there's a lot that I've intentionally not shared, and I've reserved them for encounter like these. One of the things that I would love to do in these face-to-face encounters is to share more about the spiritual uses of herbs. A lot of you are natural healers, and a lot of you have not that healing innate ability has not been released. One of the reasons why it has not been released is because you have not been in touch. You have been too exposed to artificial intelligence. And one thing I said to persons, artificial intelligence is based on a particular frequency. It works on a particular frequency, which is why the more artificial intelligence advances, they have to increase the frequencies. We are now at 5G, and they have to continue to increase them because artificial intelligence functions on a frequency. Well, I'm here to tell you that outside of artificial intelligence came about by mimicking natural intelligence. And natural intelligence is based on a frequency. That frequency you are only exposed to when you are exposed to nature. So because you haven't been exposed to nature enough, there is a part of you that has been locked up, that have been unexposed, unexplored. And it can only be explored when you are exposed in a natural setting. You know, I don't know if for example, if you are exposed to a natural setting long enough, you just begin to know instinctively what herbs do what herbs do this and what herbs do that. So it's because of natural intelligence. And that natural intelligence that you have is suppressed when you are in an environment where you are constantly exposed to the frequency of artificial intelligence. It is called we call it, they call it your sixth sense. I call it the sense of intuition. So your sixth sense is the sense of intuition. And by the way, women excel with the sense of intuition. Women know things because you are the carriers of life. So because you carry life in you, you just know things. If you're a mother, you just knowing something happened to your picnic. If you're a wife, you just knowing something happened to your husband. When you say nothing wrong with him. When the picnic at college and said, "Mommy, all right," you said, "No, something wrong with you." Because you have that sixth sense. And that sixth sense, that's why I say women are natural healers. And so these are some of the things that we teach you. These are some of the things that we expose you to when you come into these face-to-face encounters. Not everything can be shared or said over this artificial intelligence frequency. Some things have to be left for a natural encounter, because guess what happens? We focus on natural intelligence. We focus on flow on a natural frequency. And it's sad to see how much we have become dissected, disseminated, and separated from natural intelligence, and how we have become connected to artificial intelligence or the frequency of artificial intelligence. So guys, we've covered a lot. We've said a lot, and it was great being on tonight. I'll be on next week. Hopefully Ratty will feel much better, and he'll be here. So OT, you can take it away. Please remember, guys, if you have not yet signed the Magnitsky Petition, please do so, and please share it with somebody. Until next time, this is Dr. Ben Israel saying, your health is your responsibility, and the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. Bye-bye. See for yourself.